show. Why is this show called this, you may ask? So I'll tell you. Accept me an evangelist messenger and accept me of destiny is to make firm establish. So my guest and I bring you messages to establish what you need to know in the present. And of course, I do like working with angels and the calmness they bring. Now, in a moment, I will introduce you to my wonderful guest, Jen Youngquist. But before that, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching the show live or at a later date, as it means a lot to both of us to connect with like-minded people. Now, if you've never met me before, then my name is Ray, and I'm the founder of Radiant Angel Energy. And I'm a spiritual guide and healer who's passionate about helping you reconnect with your divine presence and step into your purpose. Now, through angelic Reiki, angel oracle cards, guided meditations, and exploring past and future lives, I support you in healing your past and creating your soul-aligned future. Now, my journey has taught me that with the right tools and guidance, we can all connect with our higher selves, embrace transformation, and live a life of abundance and fulfillment. Now, each episode of this show covers various themes of your journey, a mini guided meditation or angel oracle card reading with the wisdom of my wonderful guests, like today's guest, Jen Youngquist, about co-creating supportive relationships with spirit. Now, Jen is a spiritual dating coach dedicated to helping women awaken, grow, and shift their energy to become magnetic to their dream partner. Certified in coaching modalities, including Robbins-Madanes, strategic intervention, and sacred depths, not deaths, came in. She blends practical strategies with spiritual insight to help women break unhealthy dating patterns and attract aligned, meaningful relationships. Through one-to-one coaching and her signature program, Dating Alchemy, Jen empowers women to expand their vulnerability comfort zones, deepen their intuition, and step into their personal power in dating. Now, she lives in Cincinnati with her husband and 3 cats, who may make an appearance, and enjoys road cycling and traveling as a way to bond and stay fit. Now, by understanding the energetic, God, where are my teeth today? By understanding the energetic dynamics of love, healing past patterns, and embracing self-awareness, Jane guides women to co-create relationships that are deeply fulfilling and spiritually aligned. So without further delay, hello, Jen, and welcome to the Angels and Destiny show. How are you today?
Hi, Ray. Thanks so much for having me on. I am doing wonderful.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So before we get into this fascinating conversation, I want to remind you that not only can you share this video, but you can also ask questions, leave comments and thoughts, as both Jen and I want to be part of this conversation. So please don't be shy. So Jen, why don't you tell us more about your journey and how we can co-create supportive relationships with spirit?
Absolutely. So, my journey to finally finding my husband was a long one. I didn't get married until I was 43. I had lots of long-term relationships with men that I would call emotionally unavailable. And ultimately, they ended up not choosing me. Now, I know a lot of you out there have gone through a ton of relationships where you've met what seems like the perfect guy. Everything's perfect, except he's not really choosing you. It is so frustrating. And unfortunately, when we have some of these beliefs about ourselves, beliefs about relationships, beliefs about other people, and how all of that works, sometimes that makes us want to try harder to get them to accept us. And it's really the wrong energy to go about trying to create a relationship or trying to have a relationship with, right? You're always chasing, you're always trying to prove yourself, you're always feeling less than. And that is a red flag to yourself that if you ever feel like that in the relationship, it's the wrong one for you. This relationship is trying to teach you something about yourself, something about what you're believing, something about what you're doing, feeling, all of those things. It's a teaching moment. It's something that is there to show you something. And I know there are so many of you that are just tired of having these kind of relationships, because I eventually got to that point where it's just like, oh my God, I don't want another one of these. How can I just skip ahead and create what it is that I want? And that's when I started to have my own spiritual awakening. And what I ended up doing, I didn't end up going to therapy, which, probably would have helped at some level. But that person who I was back then would have considered that weak and quitting. Um, that's where my trauma was, right? I had to do it myself, and I had to, be stronger than that. Which is, now I would not advise that.
No.
But um what I ended up doing is going to see a psychic medium instead.
I think that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I wasn't really into any kind of religion back then. Um, I wasn't really into metaphysical stuff yet at that time. So I really went at it with an open mind. I'm like, well, it can't hurt. Let's see what she says. And she gave me, I don't know if she, like, spirit, I guess, just knew that if she just told me stuff, I'm going to be like, mm. So I had to, like, read it for myself, and I had to investigate and explore it. So she gave me a book, or the name of a book to go and get. And it was a book about manifestation, really, and how it works, and how what your energy, your thoughts, everything that is on the inside creates what is happening for you on the outside. And, kind of showed me that the places where I really needed to get better at policing my energy and my thoughts, and really challenging the things that I was thinking and feeling.
Yeah.
So once I started to get very intentional with that, down to really allowing myself to explore in my head, like, what do I really want? No matter how ridiculous it sounded, right? So a lot of people are afraid to ask for, or want to have a partner that can support them financially, or is at the same level as them financially. Um, But the way I got around that in my own head, because I was kind of thinking that too. Well, that's selfish, and that's not right, but it is for where it is I wanted to go. So that person was aligned with the future self and the future life that I wanted to have. So we make choices all the time, right? And I could choose, like, there could be a Mr. Right that maybe doesn't have the same money mindset as me, or more. Um, but that's going to give me a different life than the one that I was thinking of, and the one that I wanted to have. Um, so, these are some of the things that when people sit down to think, well, what is it that I want? They don't take into consideration. So that is also part of your, it's not necessarily co-creation, because it's less about co-creating, and it's more about choosing from an infinite potential of possibilities that already exist for you. So source, God, whatever you want to call it, has already created anything that you'll ever want or need. It already exists on some other timeline. You just need to decide which one of those possibilities you want, and then you have to make yourself an energetic match for that. So when I sat down to co-create and think about what it is I wanted, I was bringing myself in line with my vision for what I wanted. And I had to do also the work to become the energetic match for that, which is a little bit harder.
I was going to say, it sounds, oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to do this. But it's like, oh, but yeah, you do need to do some work for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I ended up doing after that is taking some time to figure out what was actually keeping me from having that. So there was like a series of questions, and I have them written down, like what are some of the things that I was like thinking of at the time. And one of the biggest ones was, who do you want to become? Who do you want to be? You know, do you want to be the girl that doesn't get chosen? You know, do you want to be the girl that um is alone? No, I didn't. Right? And so I had to think about where was I attached to that identity? Like what things were keeping me in that energy? And then there were some thoughts that started to come up, and some ways of being that were keeping me there. Um, One of the ways of being was feeling like I had to work for love.
Right.
Like it couldn't just be handed to me. Anytime I met like a nice guy that I wasn't attracted to, it was because he wasn't making me work for it.
Gotcha.
You know, and there was that part of me that had to prove that I was worthy of that. And I think that is a very common theme among women, especially those that have maybe had fathers that were absent in some way, even emotionally, or, you know, were not there, had left, had maybe they were, you know, had some vices that was more important, you know, all
Yeah.
of these, you know, daddy is a very important relationship for women growing up, because he shows us how we should be treated by men. And if his treatment of us isn't the best, or we internalize something the wrong way, even if you had a decent dad, you can still walk away with
Mm.
some wrong ideas about things. But that's the template. And if your template is faulty, it's going to cause all kinds of energy misalignments. We'll put
Yeah.
it that way.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, And again, it's kind of like it could, you could have the most perfect fucking world, but before you were 8 years old, maybe he'd said something that you thought, oh my God, I need to please him, or I need to do something, and then that's stuck in your head,
Mhm.
in your subconscious, into your adulthood, without you even realizing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you have these things in your subconscious, it has an effect on the energy that you put out in the world. It has an effect on your frequency. And so if you're trying to become the frequency, you know, become a match for the thing that you want, and you're not looking at what's under the hood, then you're going to have a hard time getting yourself to that point. Because remember, it's creation comes from the expression of how you feel.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we're too impatient to let the process unfold naturally. So
Yeah.
even if you are at that frequency and you think it should happen like now, you know, sometimes that control kicks in, and we have to feel like we have to manipulate things out in the external world. And then you've really just kind of messed up your manifestation.
Yeah, patience is one of those things that I think as humans we are not the best at.
Exactly. So, another question that you can ask yourself is, where am I rejecting what I've asked for? Because I actually was, right? Whenever I met that good guy that was willing to give me the love without making me work for it, I was rejecting what I was asking for, right? So I had to take that time to be like, okay, well, uh, you know, let me back up, because when I met my husband, or the guy that became my husband, it was not all sunshine and rainbows. I friend zoned him almost immediately. I did. And, I had that come to Jesus moment, so to speak, where I'm like, okay, I just spent all this time asking for exactly what he is. And now I'm saying no.
Mm.
Like, what is happening? Why am I letting these guys in that, would never do half of the things that this guy has already done for me within the first few weeks? And so, that's when that light bulb moment came in, and it was like, well, I haven't really given him a chance, because I'm expecting a certain level of attraction to happen immediately. I'm expecting there to be fireworks. I'm expecting, all of this sexual tension and energy. And, that's what I was used to. But I don't think that's the healthiest expectation.
No, it's this a thing of novels and TV
Yes.
and and the occasional real life stuff, but not everyday human stuff.
Exactly. Exactly. And so one once I decided to actually give him a chance and really see what he was all about, I was like, then the attraction was a little bit of a delay, kind of like how the universe is on a delay. It's always playing catch up to what you were manifesting last week, last year, all of those things. So I had to wait. I had to like give it that chance to open up to it. And then, like, once I did, like, then I saw so much more. Like, I actually saw him. I wasn't allowing myself to really see him. And that was almost a big mistake. So, um, that's one thing that we need to kind of be aware of when you are trying to intentionally get yourself to the timeline that you want, or to choose the um, life that you want. You know, um, yeah, that's a complete thought.
Yeah, no, and it makes absolute sense, and it brings us back to our choice of timelines. What timeline do you want to be on? If you yeah, I think if you can't see it as what life I want or where I should be going, what timeline do I want to be on?
Well, if you can't see it, you got to spend time trying to see it. In other words, you can have, be, or do anything that you want. Like, there are no limits. And I think that's where people um, get it wrong, is we put limits on ourselves. And the limits come from those, childhood wounding. It comes from trauma. It comes from just being out in the world, because the world tries to limit you,
Yeah.
especially if you're a woman or a person of color. So it's hard to transcend the programming you've been given, which is why it's, the idea is simple, the execution is not so simple, right? Because there are all those things that get in the way that you have to really do the work of clearing out. And the work doesn't have to always be super painful. Like, you can have a clearing through an energy session, with someone. You can have a clearing, just noticing a pattern out in the world, and it triggers something for you, and you're like, oh my gosh, I do that.
Yeah.
You just have to be open to it happening, right? But then um there's also the ones that your subconscious really has hidden deeply, that are really hard to see. And a good indication of this is if you have a certain dating pattern where you keep seeing the same thing over and over again. It's trying to get you to see this, and you're not getting the right lessons from it. So, in other words, if you walk away from a relationship, or say you're always cheated on in a relationship, and you walk away from each relationship being like, see, I know I should have never trusted anybody. I'm never trusting anyone again. That's my lesson, right? If that makes you feel like shit, that's the wrong lesson. I mean, honestly, that's how you tell. If saying that out loud makes you feel bad inside, brings on shame, it brings on sadness, it brings on overwhelm, or makes you just want to give up, it's the wrong lesson. So keep going. It's probably 5 questions deep.
Yeah. So you need to go past the first 2 questions, go, okay, where is this coming from?
Yeah.
And then really narrow it down. And do you, I mean, obviously you predominantly work with women, but do you find that women are easier at doing this, or are men easier at unraveling and getting those questions answered?
Honestly, I don't think it's dependent on sex. I think it's dependent on how much this person really wants to do this work, and how fed up they are with the current situation. Um, because the more painful your current situation is, the more you're ready to get out of it. And so I've found that, like, anyone who's really ready to dive in and shed those things, they're on it. They'll do the work. They've been my best clients. Hands down. Hands down.
Yeah, because they've got to that point where they know they have got to make those changes, because if they don't, they're just going to continue. Again, though, when it's a shame that, as humans, quite often we take that long time getting there. We don't kind of like get it in the first sort of like 1-2 relationships.
No, we don't. Which is what, if you keep seeing that same pattern over and over again, then you're unconsciously choosing the same timeline over and over. And it's because of one of these things: control, approval, or safety.
Okay,
So
it's just 3 things.
yeah, but they're 3 big things, right? It's all of your experiences that have created this bundle, right? So, you're trying to control things by seeking safety, right? And this means you're trying to control for not getting hurt. And so when you do that, it has an effect on your energy. It has an effect on the actions you take out in the world, right? You're probably going to hide, or you're going to choose people that you think are safe, who turn out to be emotionally unavailable. Uh-huh. Yeah. Or maybe you're seeking approval and validation outside of yourself, So you're choosing the wrong relationships for that. You're choosing, people that might be more willing to do that, or maybe are not willing to do that. You want it so bad, but yet you choose people that will not give you that validation.
Yeah.
Or, people pleasing, that's another really common one. People pleasing is a form of control. You're trying to control the situation through people pleasing, not only your own situation, but the feelings of other people. You don't want them to have a certain experience because you're afraid of what that will do for you. So at the end of that, it's control and it's safety, right?
Yeah, 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 absolutely. And I remember one relationship, I thought I thought, oh my God, this is the love of my life. But when I look back now, and I know that I learned from that, and I learned, oh, actually, I gave a lot of control away. I thought I was in control, but I wasn't. I was giving a lot of control away in that. Okay, where did that come from? And that, oh, that was a lesson I was supposed to learn from, and I've learned from that.
Mm-hmm.
So in the next relationship, I understood that when I went into it, and that that didn't happen in that relationship, but it is recognizing.
Yeah. Yeah. And like once you recognize it and you become aware of what you're thinking and your pattern, um, there is some work that you can do around that to really integrate that faster. But in my own experience, it kind of will naturally integrate itself. Maybe not all the time. Maybe I have to like get knocked upside the head with it one more time to be able to like choose the better thing for myself to really seat that. Um, but yeah, the more that you can work to really bring that feeling into your body, because remember, what you're feeling is what the universe is reading to bring back to you. So when you can change that internal feeling, you're going to get different results coming back to you. And sometimes it can happen quickly, especially if there is someone that is also ready for that, because that's another universal principle, right? The universe will bring you the resources or whatever it is you need in order to get this thing that you want. So in my case, when it was 3 months, I met my husband 3 months after I sat down to really quote put my order in to pick out which timeline it was I wanted. But I didn't meet him directly. I met someone who knew him. And I almost said no to that.
Ah.
So the other thing we need to do is get out of our comfort zone,
Mm.
right? Because if this person were in your comfort zone, you'd already have it.
Yeah, makes sense.
So the deal I made with myself is I was going to say yes more often to things I would normally say no to. Every bit about how I met my husband was a situation where I normally would have said no. I have someone to introduce you to. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I'm waiting for someone to say, oh, I've got someone to introduce you to. Yeah.
Yeah. So I ended up saying yes to that. And like the rest was history. But um, again, we shoot ourselves in the foot by trying to stay in the comfort zone and doing the things that we already know. Um, and just a little caveat, like as I'm saying this, this doesn't just pertain to romantic relationships. This could be friendships. This could be um, improving your money situation. Whatever it is you want to create in your life, you go about it the same way. I'm just looking at it through the lens of relationships because that is my focus.
Yeah.
But you ask any other coach that looks at like through a money focus, they're going to say the same exact things. You do it in the same way. You have a block to the frequency and vibration you need to be at in order to bring in the thing that you want. And you're going to need to have those blocks removed or do the work to remove them yourself.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And then the way to look at that is to look at the patterns that have been following you
Mm-hmm.
through your life to understand where those blocks might possibly be.
Yeah.
Because if you just suddenly go, okay, what blocks have they got? Well, no, but you do need to look back
Mm-hmm.
at everything that's been going on.
Yeah, your past, especially past relationship history, if you're trying to create a relationship, that's going to be a really big key for you. So like the work that I do is with people to help them remove their own barriers to aligning their frequency to what they want. And there are things that can keep you from having what you want. And so some of these are this is like a short list. But I just kind of wanted to put some things out there so that
Mm,
people can kind of like, oh, well, I didn't know that might be affecting me. Um, Not believing what you want exists. Like that's the biggest one right there. I don't know how many women I talked to. I was like, oh, the guy I want, he's already married, taken, doesn't exist. I'm like, sister, you're shooting yourself in the foot by thinking that because you've already just thrown it out. The universe is going to say, okay, all right, you don't want it. All right. Not allowing yourself to dream big. And I think especially as women, we have trouble doing this because it's like almost selfish. Like, how dare I ask for these things? Right. So if you're sitting there like, I don't even know what I want. Like, okay, there's part of your problem. You have to allow yourself to want it and to think about what it is that you want. Okay. Um, Not believing in your own worthiness. That is So for me, that was an unconscious one because by all outward appearances, and who I was 15, 20 years ago, I would have told you that I'm a catch. I thought I was a catch, right? I didn't have any problem. I didn't think I had self-worth issues. But the sneaky one was, no, I got to prove that to you before I can accept your love. And it's a huge one, especially for women. But I have seen it in men too. So worthiness is a big one. Um, you definitely want to take a look around your beliefs about the world, love, relationships, and yourself. Um, these all will cause you pain and suffering internally, and it's going to drag down your frequency. So once you take that time to like thought dump that stuff out, examine it, like that gives you room to choose new thoughts, right?
yeah. Yeah, no, that makes absolute sense. So would you say it would be kind of like, you need to sit down with a pen and paper or a recorder or something and just get everything out?
That's one way. Sometime, depends on how connected you are to your higher self, spirit team, all of that. I find sometimes automatic writing is really good for me. I've had some really kick-ass conversations with myself, and I go back and read them later, and I'm like, oh my God, something was definitely talking to me. Because I'm like, where did I get this? I don't even know. So those things can be kind of cool. If you journal, take a question, like, what are you treating as fixed in your life that can't be changed? And, just start to freeform write about that. What's coming up. You can always ask for guidance from your spirit team if that's something that's you're into. But you can also find someone like me that's really good at seeing patterns and helping people to connect with those things in your subconscious that are dragging you down. Um, you know, sometimes it's just necessary to ask someone rather than waiting for all of the mirrors that show up in your life, because honestly, that's the long and hard way.
Yeah, yeah. And
It's
and and I think as humans, that is one of our hardest things, isn't it? Asking for help. You know,
yes.
we've been brought up in a society that you shouldn't need to be asking others to help.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. And especially as women, not asking for help because we don't want to ask for our needs to be met, right? Or we don't allow ourselves to be supported, or we don't allow love. And that is a huge block to finding the relationship that you want, especially one that's supportive, right? You say you want
Yeah,
support, but you won't ask for it and won't accept it. Again, that's an energy mismatch, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it definitely is. And you know, and it's when you break it down like this that you kind of like get to see, you know, which is why it's great when people like you come on and, you know, and explain this because, you know, you go, "Oh, right, yes.
Mhm,
Oh, okay, now I can get a different perspective on it to what I've been thinking."
mhm. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you probably understand these next few because it's not necessarily just what you're thinking and what's going on inside, but you could have past life karma
Yeah.
that's interfering, outdated contracts in this life that need to be removed or renegotiated, um, energy attachments, leakages, blockages. I'm also, I guess you could call me an exorcist because that's kind of like that's my art is I clear out. I get rid of stagnant, unwanted attachments, energy, dirty, whatever. Like
Yeah.
that's my jam. Okay. So you could have these things energetically blocking you as well and dragging you down. And also, especially from a shamanic lens, part of your soul that is missing as a result of trauma, that needs to be retrieved and reintegrated, because when you have all these parts missing, well, it's going to be filled with other stuff that's not yours. And so that has an overall effect on your energetic signature. And so that's going to keep you from being in top shape energetically in order to, really manifest the timeline that you want.
Yeah, no, that really does make sense. Yeah, and there was a past relationship that I had, and it was tied to a past life we'd had to together, and I had to go in and clear that, which worked for both of us in the end. Because quite often as well, when you work with the energetics and energetic, like you clear the past life or you clear the entities from
Hmm.
you, in a way you're helping that other person, that other energy as well, because you're giving them the freedom to then move on.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless it's an energy
Yeah,
nasty, then they're just going to go attach to somebody else, unfortunately. But
yeah, yeah. Keeps you busy.
yeah. Yep.
So do you find in your work that you do a lot more of the healing, the releasing now than you used to do, or do you find that it wasn't and now it's coming back?
Yeah, I'm bringing it back. I was doing that as part of my coaching packages, but now I'm rethinking the way that I work. I think I definitely want to do more work with spirit and bringing that into the session. I definitely want to add in the energetic tune-up component to my clients and make sure that all of those things are in line so that they are energetically ready to bring in what it is that they want. And it's more about it's more about helping them to clear out all that is blocking them from being able to hear their own wisdom. Right? I'm not the healer in the aspect of telling you what to do or what you need to do. I simply help you to find the things that are blocking you, present them to you, and you have the choice to say, no, I don't want that, and connect to your higher self and bring something better in, or you decide, no, I'm going to keep that.
Yeah.
No, it's always up to you, right? So yeah, it's at an energetic level. I think I'm going to start to just to call myself and like a healer, a spirit healer, really.
Yeah, you know, a guide, because
Yeah.
what you're doing is you're guiding people
Mhm.
to help. And I think that, you know, as a healer and guide myself, you know, I'm not doing the healing. I'm just bringing in I'm just using the tools and the energy to help you. You know, even with angelic Reiki, I call in the most perfect healing angel, and that angel will come in, but they'll do the healing, but they'll do it with you. It's like as you know, as the title is, it's a co-creation.
Mhm. Yeah, you set up the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it took me a long time to realize that's what I'm just setting up the meeting and giving this a chance to happen, because I guess not everyone has the ability to call in spirits at their beck and call, at their will, right? So
No. No. And sometimes you need that outside person who's not personally involved to help you understand and see that much more clearly.
yeah. Yeah, and then there's gonna be the processing that sometimes happens after a session like that. That things are gonna come up, you're gonna feel kind of weird and like, "Ooh, what's going on?" And it's nice to have someone, on your side that can help you process through all of that kind of stuff too, and hold you in a safe, loving container to do it.
Yeah, I like that. Guide, healer, and supporter.
Yeah, exactly.
That is absolutely ideal. So, as you know, I read angel oracle cards and do guided meditation. So each week, I like to ask my guests whether they would like me to pull an oracle card for themselves and those watching, or do a mini guided meditation. So, Jen, what would you like me to do?
I love oracle cards. I'd love to have you do that.
Oh, look, I've just got them in my hand as we speak. Thank you. So for those that don't know, when I do my work, especially with the cards, I do it for what you need to know for your highest good at this moment in time. So even though I work with the past life stuff, I work with you to heal and understand your past life so it doesn't affect you in your present. And when I take you into the future and we deal with future stuff, it's so you can understand, see, and know the steps you take. So you come back to your present, so it's not affecting your present, because it's so important that everything we do is in our present moment, at this moment in time, because that will help us get onto the timelines that we need to go on. So, what does Jen and everyone who's watching this live or the replay need to know for their highest good at this moment in time? What does Jen and everyone who's watching this live on the replay need to know for their? Well, okay, we'll go with that card then. So the card that's come out is Grace and Gratitude. Through gratitude, joy expands. Isn't that a beautiful card?
Yes.
And that's so, you know, what they're saying to you, Jen, and everyone are watching, is that, you know, when you've got that gratitude, that joy will come in. So for you, Jen, it's like confirmation about what you're doing and what you've been talking about. And it's like, yeah, you know, you've got the gratitude for everything that's come into your life, for the abundance and the manifestation you bring into life. And with that, that gives you the joy. And and that joy expands within you. And for those of you that are watching, this is a reminder that grace and gratitude are such big, powerful tools that we have got in our life energetically. And when we have grace and gratitude, even for the smallest thing, we can bring so much joy into our lives, which then brings more grace, gratitude, and more manifestation in here. So beautiful that card has come out for you, Jen. I think it's absolutely lovely. There's so much confirmation for you
Yeah.
with what you're doing, and and for our viewers, it's something that you can do, even even the tiniest thing, just being grateful for breathing.
Or water. I find that every morning I bless my water.
Yeah, yeah. I've actually got crystals in my water, and I've got on my water jug, I've got I bless this water with pure love and light, and I bless this water with pure source energy. So the water is always getting that manifestation, because yeah, love, joy, gratitude, so
Mhm.
important. So Jen, do you have any insights, thoughts, or last words of wisdom to leave our viewers?
Yeah, I think I do, especially with relation to that card.
Hmm.
So I know, and I was in this spot just a few weeks ago where I just felt so awful about everything going wrong in my life, and it was just really bringing me down, and I was just really getting angry about it. And I realized, that is not going to be conducive for me to create the life that I want, right? I'm trying to create a business, I'm trying to get things off the ground, but here I am, I'm stuck in this woe is me, nothing ever goes my way, blah blah, just this awful energy. And I had to use gratitude to flip that, because it's so hard. You can't go from 0 to 60, right? You
No.
have to have the steps in between. And so when you can pick something in your life that you can be thankful for, like, it starts to bring you back up, and you eventually get to a level where you're like, okay, this feels more like normal, and now I can take off and go. So, if you're in that space where I was, oh, I feel for you. It sucks. But start to bring in that gratitude every day and really make it a practice. And I think you're going to see yourself climb out of that.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. That's beautiful last words to leave our viewers. So I hope everyone that you've enjoyed this conversation and found it insightful, because I know I definitely have. So if people want to connect with you, Jen, how do they do that? And do you have anything coming up at the moment? Any free gifts, offers you want to share?
Everything will be found in the link. I have a link tree offer, so it's going to have my website, my Facebook. It's going to have a link to my freebie. I'm going to put some new stuff out there. I've been inspired lately, so my freebie's kind of my old thinking, but it's still good. But just watch that space. I'm going to put some stuff out there. My website's probably also another good place to connect with me.
Yeah, beautiful. And I will put the links in the comments after the show, so that all you need to do, people, is just click on it and you go straight to it. So thank you so much, Jen, for sharing your wisdom. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you, Ray.
Don't forget, if you are watching this on the replay, you can still ask questions, because we will circle back to this. And of course, if you are ready for even more clarity and transformation, then I'd love to invite you to a free 20-minute live soul path discovery one-to-one video call, where during our time together, I'll pull a couple of angel or oracle cards to help you gain clarity and uncover guidance on your higher self, or from your higher self, I should say, or from the angels. And this is your chance to reflect, connect, and gain insight into your path forward. And I would be truly honored to chat with you one-to-one, guide you, and help you take the next step toward living the life that you always meant to live. And I do have a couple of incredible free gifts for you designed to help you connect more deeply with your guides, your angels, and explore your future. So do check out the link in the comments after the show to grab yours. And again, thank you everyone so much for watching. And I'd like to invite you to share this video, as I'm sure there are more people who feel lost and want to get clear on their destiny just like you. And, hear the conversation, the wisdom that Jen has provided today. And of course, if you are watching this on YouTube, then please feel free to subscribe. It is free. And hit that bell button to be notified of when this show goes live, or my other show, Oracle Cards and Meditation, Your Weekend Reset, which goes out live every Friday at 3 p.m. Or I post new guides meditations. And just remember, every time you like, share, comment, subscribe to anything myself, Jen, any of my guests, anything that we put out there, that really helps with all the algorithms, and it helps get our message out there, and you become part of this beautiful collective rainbow energy that's getting that information out there and uplifting everyone and creating a beautiful community where everyone lives in that abundance, that happiness, that unconditional love. And I look forward to you all joining me same time, same place next week. Take care. Bye.